Alright, hello fellow knight, this is Calabo. At the moment of this recording, I am the diplomatic minister for the Knights of the Tropic. Let's get on with Galva 101, the initial setup. Please feel free to pause frequently if you are following along with me. Here we are at the main page for the game. You'll notice that there's a link to a tour of the various features in Galva. It's basically just a snapshot of the different aspects of the game and can be helpful as a brief overview, but these guides should be more helpful because Galva is actually a pretty complex game. You'll soon get the hang of it though. We'll do this guide on my account, so I will sign in now to World 1. Alright, I'm assuming that if you're watching this guide, you've already registered. If not, there's no need to cover it, because it's just like any other web registration. You may or may not have set up your first province though. Provinces are what actually constitute your empire. They grow, they house your citizens, and they house your armies. So go ahead and click on the Provinces tab on the left-hand side. This left side is where you're going to find all the links that control your empire. If you haven't created your first province yet, and here you'll see a link that'll say something along the lines of create a province. You can name it whatever you'd like. But then comes the land types. There are basically 4 different kinds of land. There's food, wood, stone, and defensive land types. For your first province, you want to choose 2 food types, with your primary type being plains, and your secondary being either coastal or hills. You'll see that my first province, Neon Bible, is plains and coastal. Before we delve too much further into the workings of your empire, let's talk about your initial goals. If you go back to the overview of your empire, you'll see that your progression, right here, is currently at 1. Mine is at 61 at the moment. You want to get yours to 60. Progression is purchased in batches, anywhere from 1 to 10, and there is absolutely no advantage in buying larger batches. If you buy a progression 1 point at a time, you will spend the same as if you were to buy 10 at once. If you look over on this side, you'll notice that you've started with some resources. Spend them all on progression. Buy as many points as you're able and then save the rest. This should get you to about 42 or 43 prog. So what has this done for you? Progression is the base modifier for just about everything. It raises the amount of land you can explore, it earns you better weapons, technologies, siege equipment, magic spells, and so on. But most importantly, it is the requirement for the monumental changes in an empire. If you click on the Discoveries tab up here, you can view these unlockables. Now I've already purchased the first 4 down here. At 10, you can purchase the ability to create your first unit. At 25, you can purchase the university. At 50, you build the workshop. And at 60, you create your second province. Creating a second province is your initial goal. Ask a government member about startup programs. While there aren't any at the moment, within the near future it should be easy for us to fund startup empires to get them to the 60 progression point right from the start. Now let's talk about your journey to 60 prog. You want to purchase discoveries as soon as you're able, so if you have any gold left over, purchase the first soldier, the university, and we will come back to both of those in the next guide. Next, let's head back to your province. Go ahead and click Edit Settings here, and you can edit your tax rate. When you tax your citizens less, they collect more resources, and in general you will need more resources and less gold. So go ahead and set it at the minimum, 10%. The only exception will be if you eventually become a banking empire, in which case you'll need to have more gold to distribute, but for the early stages you'll want to have the minimum tax rate. Now click on the Finances tab. This is where you make your collections. Collections in Galva occur every 6 hours. You can backlog up to 12 collections, at which point your citizens will stop producing any income. There is no benefit to backlogging though, so you may as well collect as often as your real life permits, and use that collection to increase your income before the next one. So for the next few days, just continue to collect as you're able, and buy as much progression as you can until you reach 60. So now you're on your way. This was obviously just the bare bones of the game, though. As soon as you're able, continue on to Galva 102, an introduction to game mechanics.